5 years and still talking. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is the Ramble and I am Alex Bennett, and we will be here until midnight Eastern Daylight Time. We're going to talk with Stephen Pearl.
WHN 1050, the crap that your parents listened to back in 62. Hello, I'm Ted Brown at WHN Lake Success. Right now we're going to be listening to a cut from the Cap Records album, The Many Hairstyles of Jack Jones. William B. Williams isn't coming in today. He's all coked out and being a cunt as usual. WHN 1050, quick turn the dial to something else before your brains fall out. Okay. Remember those days?
Well, I don't remember it because I was in San Francisco. I grew up in San Francisco. Right. So I never, in retrospect, I knew about that stuff because I came to work in New York and people talked about William B. Williams and, Ted Brown and, But I was the last WMCA good guy.
Oh, really? You and the Harry Harrison and the Gary Stevens?
What happened was they brought it back, okay? They did away with the good guys, and then they brought it back. Uh-huh. And I was the only guy there who hadn't been a good guy before, so I became the last good guy.
Uh-huh. Put the sweatshirt on, shut up, and say what we tell you to.
I got the sweatshirt and everything. But then I just looked online, and you want to know the sad story here?
Yes.
I'm not only the last good guy, Gary Stevens and I are the last living good guys.
Oh my God, they're all dead. No.
Yeah,
who will I read about in Go magazine? What will I do?
Jack Spector is dead.
Harry Harrison just bought the farm.
Harry Harrison bought the farm. So we, really of the good guys, I and Gary Stevens supposedly is still alive too. So, and he was never with me when I was there. However,
didn't get to pal around with Gary Stevens.
Didn't get to pal around, but I did get to pal around. I did get to know Murray the K.
Murray the K.
Yeah, because he came to WMCA. That was the last gig he ever had in New York. And one night I'm driving in to go to my show, which goes on at 11 o'clock. And because I was on Saturday nights, I did Barry Gray's show, basically his slot from his studio. And I'm driving in, and they're playing wall-to-wall music. Now, in those days, nobody played wall-to-wall music. Okay?
Yeah.
And I drive up to the station, and I could park right out in front in those days. And there's this litter, and they've got Murray the K on it, and they're wheeling him out into an ambulance.
Oh, my God.
And that was his last night in New York City. He had collapsed. And I went up and I replaced him. I took over his show that night, and he was okay. He lived a couple of more years, but he never worked at WMCA again.
So. Murray. In heaven he's called the third Beatle.
No, wait a minute. No. Yes, he would be the third Beatle. Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, hey, do your Beatles math, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. What do you remember about a radio? What you had, WHN was a station you listened to. It doesn't exist anymore. I don't know what it became.
It became country later on, and then I think they exploded and turned it to confetti or something. I don't know what happened to.
Yeah, and then let's see here. Then there was WMCA, and there was WABC was playing rock too in those days. So
WMCA on the left side of the dial, WABC on the right side of the dial, 77.
Yeah.
Chuck Leonard,
and let's see, we had the good guys, and they had, who did they have over at WABC? They had Cousin Brucey was there.
Cousin Brucey, a lot of you kids like using the term acid rock. I prefer the term progressive rock. On WABC, 77, WABC, here's the box tops.
See, that's yeah.
Still around. God bless him.
Yeah, but
148 years old.
he's still around. They built a studio. They had a studio at Sirius XM. It was a studio he only used once a week, but he put all these pictures up of the history of Cousin Brucey, right?
Week number 7.
No, but the strange part was they had all these old pictures of him with Beatles and stuff, and he was losing his hair. You know, it showed the widow's peak and the recession, right? And then all of a sudden, the picture next to it is a picture of him a couple of weeks ago, and he's got a big head of hair again.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's like the Carl Perkins, Tony Bennett syndrome.
You don't create that kind of comparison when you're trying to sell yourself, you know?
Yeah, sure.
He was the king of the hair pieces. Bad wig. Bad wig.
Hey, Bruce, it's Tony Bennett. Can I borrow one of your wigs? I'm doing a show tonight. I need that wig that looks like I need a haircut, but I haven't got one yet. Yeah.
Can I be honest, though? I never understood the popularity of Cousin Brucey. I think the only reason Brucey is so well known is he's the only surviving person of that group.
Sure.
I mean, if you think about it, if there were a lot of jocks who were a lot better than Cousin Brucey, I'm sure when you listen to WABC, there were guys you liked better than Cousin Brucey.
Yeah.
But
Cousin Brucey was good because he was on at night. You know, you're home from school. It was like 7 o'clock. You did your homework, and you can listen to Cousin Brucey.
Yeah, but they're dead.
Yeah.
See, they're dead. He isn't.
That's right. You can still do Clearasil commercials.
Gee, maybe I'll get another job being the last good guy. I'm staying in there till Gary Stevens goes.
There you go. He'll be the last one.
Yeah, but I looked it up. He's still alive. I don't know where, but he's still alive. But
the good guys are old or dead. 4 good guys. No, we're all good guys right now. Yeah. Joni James from the Cap Records. Joni swings sweet. No rock or feeling or soul on this one. WHN 1050, the whitest music you'll ever hear. It really sucks. Like 6
I wish you lived in the Bay Area at the time when I was growing up, because we'd be able to sit here and say wonderful things about San Francisco. Because what happened was, in San Francisco, we had, as rock stations, we had KEWB, okay? The original rock station, top 40 station, was called Kobe, K-O-B-Y, but then KEWB came in with this format. They had developed a KFWB in Los Angeles. It was owned by Kroll Collier. And they came in, and we had, like, in the morning was, who did we have in the morning? We had, I can't remember who was in the morning.
Somebody in the morning. It's right dead now.
But anyway, who's the guy that used to do top 40? Casey Kasem was on that station.
Well, you had that troublemaker Tom Donahue out there in San Francisco.
What happened was, there's another station, KYA, and they had nothing, okay? So they decided, what can we do? And in Philadelphia, all these guys had gotten fired for payola. Yeah. But the reason they got fired for payola, and the reason they got payola, is because they were the best jocks in Philadelphia, right? Sure. So it was Tom Donahue and who was the other guy? Bob Mitchell and Peter Tripp, I think was his name. And they all hired him and brought him to San Francisco. And that station just exploded because these guys were that good. I mean, I've got to tell you, I heard him. I heard what's his name? I heard Tom Donahue and Bob Mitchell, and I said, these guys are the 2 greatest guys I've ever heard in my life. You know, and they were. You know, sure. They were just incredible.
I'd say they were given a lot more freedom to do what they wanted to do in San Francisco, too, as opposed to Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to play Fabian records here. Oh.
Well, no, I don't think they did that there. I think they did whatever they wanted to because they were the biggest jocks in Philadelphia.
Sure.
So we got I called it radio's Devil's Island. You know, all these guys all these guys have been formally vilified in Philadelphia. Come here, but don't take payola. Just come here, right?
Yeah, just come here, sure.
So then they came, and I guess they were huge in San Francisco and wiped KEWB right off the map.
Wow. Yeah.
You know,
The good old days.
yeah. So I mean, those were the good old days. I was thinking about the good old days. You know, what are you? You're still sequestered there in. Aren't you in Vegas? Nothing's really
Still in
open.
Vegas, staying in, going out occasionally with a mask on, but
Yeah, nothing opened up really, right?
not yet. No, well, I got a haircut the other day, so I had to wear a mask
Hey,
while I got
look
it.
at me.
But I got a haircut.
I got
Look at you. Who
Yep.
loves you, baby?
How did
Stavros,
but-
Kraka, get over here.
But I love saying how I got the haircut. I went out and I found a place where I could buy a pair of clippers because they're very hard to get a hold of. And they came the other day, and my wife did this.
Wow, I was ready. I was so close to shaving my head.
Oh God, I am just. Well, you've got kind of a full head of hair. I don't know at your age. A
got a
Jew,
little comic in the back with
a
you.
Jew with a full head of hair. I don't understand it. Are you sure you're Jewish?
Hey, I might be Italian thrown in here. I might have the Al Pacino gene.
Yeah.
80 years old and a mop on my head. Go figure. Ooh-ah.
Well, my business manager, who was Gary, hey,
Yeah.
was just absolutely. It has a full head of hair.
Yeah,
Just a full head of hair. Never.
Mick Jagger, you know. Some
Yeah,
people's
full head of hair.
That's 'cause we never
and
mature.
I'm going. You know, you're a 82-year-old or something Jew,
Yeah.
and you still got all that hair. How do you do
Well,
it?
It evens out because I got the shittiest beard in the world. I got like 9 hairs on my face. And,
Yeah.
keep the hair, you know. No sideburns.
The reason I do this is because I can't get anything. I can get stuff to grow here, but I can't get stuff to grow.
I got
here.
one sideburn. I can go through life like Elvis. If I do a
Yeah.
Elvis, Bad Boom. Elvis, Bad Boom.
But I was worried about her cutting my hair, and because mine doesn't take much to do, you just go and you're done.
That's it. You're done. Yeah.
And she did a beautiful job of it. I mean, this thing just cut my hair, and I'm going, why do I pay a barber to do this? From here on in, I'll have her do it. And I can do it like every 2 weeks, so my hair is always looking okay.
There you go.
Because when it grows out, it gets, I can't even do anything.
We get that wild Jewish streak in it. It gets crazy. I get pimples on my head when I sweat, so if I shave my head.
You get pimples on your head when you sweat?
You connect these, it's a profile of James Knox Polk, you know. So, come on, I'll keep them covered.
So you really, okay. All right.
I am. I'm just as God made me, sir.
You're just as God made you? How did God make you?
10-50. Right now, we're going to be hearing the Cap Records album, Frank Fontaine, I'm Not Always a Fucked Up, Mentally Challenged Idiot. Apple Blossom Time, WHN 1050, Lake Success.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Did Frank? Oh, yeah. Frank Fontaine sang as well, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
And Frank Fontaine, people don't even know who. I'm sure even if we've got older people listening to us right now, they don't remember Frank Fontaine. He was a comedian, right?
On the Jackie Gleason variety show.
And he used to have a weird accent. How was that? Was he like
this, like he was mentally challenged or spastic or something. And then hey, sing us a song. Okay, I'll sing you. I'll be there in Apple Blossom time. I've got 49 kids. Kill me.
boy.
Yeah, it was like Gomer Pyle when he sang.
Did you ever find out what happened to Frank Fontaine? I mean, only you would bring up Frank Fontaine.
I think in the night. Fucked Up at the Fillmore with Frank Fontaine next week on WHN.
Yeah.
Hey, let's drop this ass and Joe Cocker and see who's more fucked up. Frank Fontaine was on stage in the 90s somewhere and accepted an award, and then he dropped dead on stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah.
He joined the people who dropped dead on stage, like British comedian Tommy Cooper and Tiny Tim and Joey Ross and of course Dick Shawn and all the other guys from the Dead on Stage Club. So
do you want to die on stage?
I want to go in my sleep. I want to have a dream. I want to have like the best dream in the world, and as soon as it climaxes, I'm either in heaven or dead. You know, one or the other.
Yeah.
Or attacked by land dolphins. That would be fun. So,
What land?
I don't know what that meant. I don't know.
What did you say? Somehow I can't follow you at times.
I can't either. Don't worry about it. No, I would like to have a Bing Crosby death, which means you're dead before you hit the ground. You know, he played golf. Oh, it was a great game. I think I'll beat on the bats with a baseball, but
yeah, and then he goes. Yeah.
Or Bob Hope with, hey, you know how it is playing golf. You shoot a hole, you drag Bing. You shoot a hole, you drag Bing.
I think it was Fred Allen died on Madison Avenue, right? Dropped right dead in the street. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just on What's My Line.
Well, now that we've talked about everybody, nobody remembers.
Welcome to my world.
Which is what I like about talking to you. I mean,
all my fans can't feel anything from their eyebrows down if they're alive. So.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, listen, we're kind of running out of time here.
Oh my God, we never run out of time.
Is there any place you're playing?
Yeah, my living room, and then I'm playing with myself in the bathroom. Then I'm gonna make some coffee in the kitchen,
and then the cats are gonna do their paws like this.
That's Pat Carter's room. We heard that.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's mad, he's crazy, he's Stephen Pearl. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Maurice Wiggs.
5 years and still talking. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before. Yeah. Bye. Okay. There we go. Our big opening. The dreaded COVID-19 opening for our program. How about that? You enjoy that? I love that. I love that. Anyway, a few screw-ups tonight. A few screw-ups earlier today. I did the show, right? Now, I don't have large breasts. I have breasts, but I don't have large breasts. But what I did was I turned off the lights. Wait a minute, I'll show you. And when I did the thing with Stephen Pearl, right? And then it kind of looks. See how the light, without the lights, it shows up? I guess. So anyway, I didn't do that. You'll see that again like that next week too. Then when I started the program, I started it with my dreaded COVID-19 thing, and I got it all wrong. What can I say? I had it all planned out. It was going to be beautiful, and we were just going to go to Stephen. By the way, we're doing Stephen Pearl now using Zoom because that's easy for him to use. Skype is a little more complicated for people. And I wish we could do the show with Zoom, but we can't because of the nature of the program, the way in which it's done, and it's much more difficult to do it that way. Okay. And so I paid for Zoom today. I decided to do that because I was finding that he was having a hard time getting hold of me without typing in the password. When you have this paid thing, people don't have to use a password to get into Zoom. So if I'm going to use it for the general public, and people make it easy for people. They just got to be able to click on that and do it. So click on the address I give out. So that's my new thing now. I'm paying $14.99 a month to Zoom for the time being. I don't know if I'm going to use it forever. Well, let's do what we always do at this time of night. Let's go over to the map. That's the world map, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the dreaded world map because it's the map that shows us what's happening around the world. What did I do? I pushed the wrong button. Oh boy, everything's going wrong tonight. I leaned over and I pushed a button on this other machine and it started the promo going. 4,345,646 people, ladies and gentlemen, have gotten the COVID virus. Now that is confirmed. That is not bar mitzvah. No, that is. I'm going to use that joke till it doesn't get a laugh anymore. It probably hasn't gotten a laugh at all anyway, because I can't hear whether you're laughing or not. Anyway, those are totally confirmed. Now, there may be more people than that, okay? Countries are not saying how many, like they think China is underestimating, and Russia may be underestimating, but look where they are now. They're in the number 2 spot. We'll get to that in a second. Total global deaths, we're approaching 300,000, 297,108. 297,108. And that is not good. What's not good? Let's look at the United States. Okay, we have 390,406 cases, confirmed cases, for a total of 84,119 deaths. Now, let's for a moment put that number in perspective. Far and away, both numbers are the largest numbers of any country in the world. Now, you could say that the United States is one hell of a big country, but number 2 is Russia, and they certainly have as many people in Russia, I think, as we have here. All right? Russia now is in second place, by the way, as you can see here. They're in second place, and that's amazing because they were way down here somewhere. And they have just kept cropping up and creeping up and creeping up, and now they're up there. And Russia is now a total of 242,271 totally confirmed cases for only 2,212 deaths. Now, again, that's a disputed number because we don't trust the Russians and they stole our election and we don't know what to believe when they say it. But that's their current number, and I guess we're going to stick with it. But let's look at these numbers. For instance, in the United States, we've had 84,119 deaths. Let's round it off to 84,000 so we can, for the sake of argument. Russia only has 2,012 deaths. They're in second place. The UK, which had the third largest amount of cases, 33,264. Hardly the 84,000 that we are up to, all right? Spain, they have 27,104. I mean, look at all these countries. Italy, which we said was having a horrible problem, at 31,106 deaths. And yet, compared to the United States, they would have a long way to go to get to our number. Now, granted, we have more people in this country than they have in Italy. But if you start going on a per 100,000 people or whatever, we're in the worst shape of any country in the world. There is nobody worse. I mean, maybe we could find some country that has 3 people in it and one of them got COVID, and we could say, well, a third of their population, blah, 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 blah. But no, we are doing terribly. We are in the midst of this pandemic. It has grabbed us by the throat, and what are we doing? We're allowing it to just strangle us by going back to work, by opening up places, and so on. Like, for instance, in Georgia, where they opened up everything, the amount of people who are dying and have gotten COVID has exponentially zoomed upward. I wish I had a map like this for the United States. I'm going to see if I can find one because, boy, oh boy, I would love to see what those numbers are. The rest of the country is going up. New York has come down, and we're happy about that. It's come down appreciably. And I think today we said we have 162 deaths yesterday. Okay. And we're hoping that it's going to be less tomorrow. I won't be happy till I see it go under 100. Then maybe I'll go get my blood test. I'll go get my CT scan and so on. But it's terrible what's happening out there. And it is as a result of a president who has bungled this whole thing. You know, all he can think about is, let's get this country opened again. Well, you can open it again, But if people are wheezing and coughing and dying, it's not going to be long before you're going to have to close it again. And if you don't close it, you're going to see deaths on a, on a level that has heretofore not been seen anywhere in history. Okay, so we've got to do something about that. Anyway, let's get rid of the map. Okay, well, we love that map. It's our nightly map of seeing what's going on in the world, and we'll look at it every night until we no longer have to look at it. Okay, let me open up the Skype lines here. We use Skype. We don't use Zoom, which is now the popular form of doing groups. But it's for groups of people who really have no sense of how the internet works or whatever. And if they just click a link, it allows them to go to the meeting. And I would love to do this show that way, but unfortunately, I can't control it like I can control Skype. Okay, and I am in fact doing a program here, and I have to live with it. Okay, so anyway, let's see who's going to be the first person to call in tonight. It was going to be. Oh, here, wait a minute, we're having troubles. What? Come on, somebody else, give it a try. Give it a try. Let me see what happens. Are we having problems here? Okay. Okay, there's Charlie Wallace. Okay, Charlie, you're there. Okay. Let me see here. Yep. Turn on your camera, Charlie.
Sis is on.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, there we got Charlie Wallace. Okay. And now we'll wait to see if somebody else calls here.
I can't believe I beat Brian.
You beat Brian. Brian, you're a little slow on the go tonight, but you're here anyway. So there he is. He's going on up there. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a California sunset. That's wonderful. Oh, I'm envious of that. I wish I were there.
I think Charlie blocked me.
I want to go. I want to go to there.
I called in. It was ringing and ringing. I had to hang up and recall.
Yeah, and there's Jeff Zeller. You know that all you three people were the first three to call last night because you just popped right up in your place from last night. So that was pretty good. Okay. Anyway, I did. By the way, I did that interview with Stephen Pearl using Zoom. Because I can do one person with Zoom and it works out okay, and especially if it's somebody like him who doesn't know how to, if I had to teach him how to use Skype. I mean, we talk about Jeff having problems, but I got to tell you, Jeff's learned how to use Skype, and that makes him a techie.
A genius.
A genius.
Stephen Pearl looked really good.
What?
Stephen Pearl looks really good.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah,
very good.
I can't believe he's as old as he says.
Exactly.
Well, he looks about like I remember he looked when I left San Francisco.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and I can't say that for me. Well,
I was so happy to find you, Alex. From back from Live 105 days, then I think I heard you on Sirius a couple times, some weird hours, like really early in the morning, I think. But really, really strong politics side, so I didn't listen that much. And then somehow I caught you on here like almost 4.5 years ago, when you're still doing the Friday night only videos.
Yeah, well, we started out by doing the video on Friday nights, and it was, if you think about it, it was pretty unsophisticated compared to what we're doing now. I mean, it didn't look as good as this looked, and we didn't have the ability to place people where we want to place them and so on. People just call them. Basically, what we were showing you was the live stream that we were getting, Excuse me, I got to take let me take Tums. I've been having indigestion lately, and it might be in combination with some medication I'm taking, but let me take one of these. Kill the acid. Anyway, so yeah, we started. That's the way we started. Yeah, occasionally I go back and I look at those shows and I go, "Oh man, this is like the Stone Age." But it worked. But then Skype changed their whole way of doing things. And I was very reluctant to use it. And I then kind of learned how to use this thing called NDI, which allows me to take the pictures out of Skype and place them in my picture where I want to place them. And once I learned how to do that, I went, well, this is a lot better, you know. So up until then, whenever I was doing the show, even when I went to 5 nights a week, 4 nights a week with doing the video, I just basically took the Skype picture and put it on the air, which I could do at that time, but you couldn't do it with the new Skype. So, but here we go. It looks great. You know, I'm not complaining about this. But anyway,
So
yeah.
we have some good news. We shipped 2 million cartridges now for detection.
Oh.
We just passed that yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 million. Now they started blasting Abbott now because Abbott's showing like a New York University study. They showed like 40% false negatives. So they take the test with their stuff and they say, oh, you're fine. And they send them off, or they go into another area for regular flu.
I heard it was 50% false positives, but I imagine if you have 50% false negatives, you would have 50% false positives, right?
That was 40, right? But it's 40%. 40%.
40%.
Yeah, false not negative. So they put them into an area that is not COVID, it's regular flu, and they find out that they have flu and they're spreading it. So they sort of, Abbott says, well, we're looking into it now.
Wow.
So our stuff is about 98% correct right now.
Yeah, but could it be that the reason why we're seeing problems like this is we've rushed into this thing so fast to try and come up with solutions that we bypass a lot of the protocols we would use going into something like this?
Yeah, they said it takes us usually 18 months just for FDA regulatory to go through, and we took 6 weeks with them. So yeah, they rushed a lot of stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, but it was basically the tests they were rushing. They weren't well. They did rush Rezedivir, whatever that drug is, Remdesivir.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Remdesivir.
They kind of rushed that, and they rushed one other thing. What was it that they okayed? Oh, the blood plasma. Well, that thing doesn't have to be okayed. The blood plasma thing. But there was one other thing they were allowing to go through pretty fast, and you know, in this kind of situation, we can't have lag time. You know, we weren't.
And for companies like us, where we have a good relationship with the FDA because of our tests, you know, this is our like 18th or 19th tests that we've gone through FDA. So, you know, they know what we do. When we first started, it was disruptive technology, you know, so we took a long time for our first assays to go through because they didn't really understand the technology. But now we have a good relationship, and, you know, with the tests that we give them already, they're really happy.
Is there a problem with can I say this, because I'm old and I can ask this kind of question without seeming ageist. Is part of the problem with the FDA they're a bunch of old guys and that they aren't forward thinking, they just want to cross the T's and dot the I's?
I don't think so. I don't know. One of my friends is in regulatory, and I know they have so much paperwork and stuff. I mean, they're talking stacks of stuff to go through for testing results and stuff.
Jeff was in this business as well.
Yeah, I would say that their strategy is risk rather than success. Okay, they're very concerned about failing or getting bad data or bad information or hurting somebody, rather than 99% of the people it'll work great.
Okay, but a guy's on a ventilator in a hospital. His chances are 20% he's going to survive once he goes on that ventilator. Can't you try something, you know, besides what you're already doing? You know this guy hasn't got a good shot at making it. So,
I know.
You know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sure.
I hate to say it because it sounds a lot like it when Trump said, well, what have you got to lose? But it is a kind of what have you got to lose situation, you know. Get out the Clorox bleach. Let's see if it works, you know.
Yeah.
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 You know, I mean, I'm not suggesting that, by the way, in case you just, you just tuned in and said Alex just said Clorox bleach would be okay to use. I think it'd be okay to use if Trump got COVID, but I think that because he says it might work, so we should let him have his ability at letting it have a chance at working. Hold on a second, I got Vernon Nunn in here. Hello, Vernon. There you are. Hi, Vernon.
Hi.
So anyway, you know, I just today was just kind of going through thinking that, man, this just made me kind of sick that that you know, this president has just so bungled this that when I look at the amount of people who are dead, I'm going, that didn't need to be, you know.
Right.
If he were on top of this thing from the beginning and said, oh, this looks like a dangerous thing, we better do something about this, rather than just, oh, let's close down the travel from China because he hates China. That's the only reason he did it. But he didn't think about stopping all travel from Europe, where this thing was starting to rage.
Yeah.
You know, and also all the stuff on the East Coast came from Europe. It didn't come from China.
Right.
But he bungled that one completely. You know, I mean, I think from here on in, we will know when a pandemic happens to lock all the borders and not let people in or out, you know. But if we had done that, we probably would have had less deaths in the, by, I would say, by tens of thousands. Okay.
And Bright's speaking tomorrow, right? Bright's speaking tomorrow
Who's
to the
speaking?
Senate. Bright?
Oh, that's the guy who got fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he's in the Senate tomorrow. I see. Okay. Let me see.
Yeah,
here.
so that should be. They've already said some of the stuff he's going to talk about,
Mhm.
and yeah, he really puts down that this can be very dark days for us because we should have been attacking this earlier, and
Yeah.
we shouldn't be easing off in certain areas right now,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
like Fauci said there.
yeah. Let me see here. Let me click on this. By the way, somebody, you were getting a little audio slapback, I think, from Phil, believe it or not.
Really?
Anyway, yeah. But there's Phil, folks. Hi, Phil.
Okay. How you doing?
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's really kind of you know, I think it's been a bungled situation all the way around, and it's caused so many deaths. And when you look at the whole world, we by far are ahead in reported usage, you know, reported cases, although we are doing a lot of testing, which that would bring that number up. And the deaths, though, are what are, and Trump is now saying they're over-reported. And everybody, including Fauci, says they think it's underreported because we're not reporting all those people who died at home of it, you know?
Yeah.
So to deny what the magnitude of this pandemic.
Sponsors, nice.
Love it, Kevin.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone else see the
Oh, yeah.
screen?
Yeah, they can
please?
see. They can see it. They can see
Yeah, we
what
can see
Kevin's
it.
done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking at. Yeah, you can.
I mean, it isn't that great because he's you're under lit, so it's kind of not as profound as it would be. But there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Jewel Lysol. I'll tell you,
Come on,
it's
Phil, smile about that one, Phil. Come on.
Yeah, come on, Phil.
I was thinking, where can I buy it?
Yeah.
He's locked on now.
You know, I mean, I think that we're it's amazing how bad off we are. I mean, I suddenly looked at these numbers and realized how bad off we are. And yes, we're a big country with a large population, but so's China, so's Russia, so's England and places like that. India, for instance. I don't think I haven't even looked at India. I mean, we got Iran before them. How's India doing in all of this?
They're like about 5.
No, they're
six
not. No,
on the
no,
list.
they're not even. I'm down to about a whole bunch of here. India. Where is it? I don't see it. Bangladesh. has 269 reported deaths. Poland, 816. I mean, come on. Israel, 264. Okay. So you can go on and on about this, and it's pretty.
Is there a statistic on how many people died in assisted living facilities as a comparison to other people that have had the?
I looked at that today for New York. Okay, I looked at that today for New York, and what came up was because when Cuomo does his thing, they put up how many people died yesterday and how many of those were in nursing facilities, and I think it was out of 164 deaths or something that we had yesterday, something like 30 of them or something was in New York. I don't have the exact figure, but they give them
Around
every
those
day.
numbers.
Huh?
Yeah, I saw around those numbers too, like the last couple of days.
Yeah. And so they
I
report them
saw a
every day.
report that 40% of the U.S. deaths were from nursing homes.
I don't think it's that high, but you might be right. I mean, it's certainly pork plants have
It said
something to do with it.
40% of the deaths
Right.
came from that.
I'd
That's a reasonable thing, I think, today.
Well, I mean, let's face it. These nursing homes become slaughterhouses for people.
Yeah.
Do other countries have the assisted living
Oh, yeah.
facilities like we do?
Of course.
Because I think in other countries, families take care of people.
Well, they don't
that-
exactly send them off to the old folks' home. Okay, it's a lot of the tradition in a lot of countries is that you take care of your elders.
Really,
You know,
right. So that may be one reason why we have such a high
well,
rate
in this
of
country, it's a major business, and
Yeah.
it's also a badly maintained business. You know, as many rules and regulations as we put into it, it's still a very badly handled segment of our business population, you know. But I didn't realize it was that high of all the deaths were in nursing homes. But if it is, it's criminal.
I thought it was higher. You know.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's. All I know is that here in New York, whenever I've seen that number, it's always been about maybe a tenth, maybe tops 20% of the total number. Okay, but I mean, we're down to 164 deaths in New York State. That's not bad, you know. That's really from where we were, which was over 1,000 a day. That's a great jump down or leap down.
But I think you pointed it out once, Alex, is that little graph in the bottom right hand corner, you know, where it shows the line, the yellow line.
Yeah.
I think that's the really important part of that. Is I think you showed Italy was starting to crest a little bit, but you know they keep saying flattening the curve, but flattening the curve is still having that steady rate of deaths, right?
Oh, wait a minute. Let me bring.
How many of those are actually coming down?
Well, let me see here. The map. We go back to the U.S.
Places
And
like New Zealand and South Korea, they're actually coming down.
well, Spain is well. Let's go to Italy. Let's go to Italy as an example. They're still, believe it or not. Hold on a second. Let me get this on the screen here, so that we can show it to people. They're still going up a little bit, but they seem to be kind of leveling off. Spain is kind of went down a little bit, and then it's now back up again, but it's almost about where it was before it went down and then came back up. United Kingdom, there's the, you know, it's straight up. It's still going up. All right.
And remember, Trump said the United Kingdom was okay to come here.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
about a week.
Yeah.
about a week,
For about
right?
a week until people really. Here's the U.S. Look at this. Look at this. Look, boom. See, that's the whole U.S. If I were to show you New York, there's a downtrend. Okay, so I don't know if you can see those things.
And then also remember that's within shelter.
That's what?
That's within shelter in place, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Yep.
It'll be interesting.
What is now? What is happening with Sweden that didn't shelter in place? What is their statistic? Has anybody seen that?
Their statistic? Their statistic is, let's see here. Sweden
It's
is
very high. It's like a 12 or 13% death rate from people who get the infection.
Yeah, check like Norway, their neighbors, right? You'll see that.
Well,
Yep.
Norway's had how many deaths? 229
It's like
deaths.
200.
229 deaths.
Yep.
And let me see here, but I'm looking to see.
Was that for the day or total?
Here's Sweden, 3,460 deaths.
Yeah.
So you
So
see,
that's the
where and if you want to think about Norway, for instance, which we just showed, was it Norway we just showed a while back here?
Norway was what, 200?
Yeah, 200.
Yeah.
These are countries of approximately the same size and the same population, and
Same,
look at the difference in the deaths.
Yeah.
You know,
You know,
One shut
I-
down, the other didn't.
You know why all of those people died in Sweden?
why?
They're lost in the IKEA store. and they
It could be.
couldn't get
It could
out.
be. It could be.
Yeah, go to an IKEA store?
No,
You gotta-
I've never been in an IKEA store in my life.
Really? It takes longer to find your way out of there than it does to to shop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
Even
it takes
through the
you longer
shortcuts.
than either of those things to try and put that stupid shit together. You know.
IKEA.
Oh,
I love
really?
IKEA stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
this-
I
that's-
suppose if I had an IKEA store nearby, I might buy some of it. No, I couldn't buy it. Marjorie would not let me. She would not let me. So I take that back. But I would do it if I had an apartment. Okay, you know, I mean, for bookcases and things like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Here comes Patrick Blazik. Let me see here. He would go in the number 7 spot. Let me see here. He would be Darth Pat. Wait a minute, I have to look again. Cancel. Start again. Darth Pat. Okay, where's Darth Pat? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm having a problem finding him. Maybe I'm blind as a bat here or something. Let me once again double click here. See, it isn't until somebody completely signs in that I can do it.
Alex,
What?
Patrick's the one in the wheelchair if you can't.
I know. I know. Why isn't he coming up? This is ridiculous. Oh, there he is. Oh, wait a minute. Darth Pat. There we go. I should have my glasses on is what I should do.
I see him.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't have my glasses on, so, you know, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you gotta have a master's degree in engineering to put some of those IKEA things
I
together.
have to have a master's degree to find my glasses. What? Yeah. Yeah, no,
I'm curious. I've never been there. No, I gotta go
yeah.
see one.
How you feeling there, Patrick? Are you guys still hunkering down? Yeah,
No, we finally got the nanny state to fuck out. And the state Supreme Court declared that the governor's bullshit was unconstitutional. And now we can open everything up. So
Really?
Wisconsin, right?
You're free to die.
Prepare to die.
They're all free to
What?
die.
What do you mean,
Well,
so what?
yeah,
What do you mean,
anyway.
so what?
and as a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
my idea was to go be with Jesus anyway. So why would I fear death?
See if you get there and it doesn't exist. You'd be
See,
like, "Can I
here's the
go
thing.
back?"
Here's the thing, Patrick. It's old farts like me that are going to die if I were living in Wisconsin. Okay? Because you open up that state like you say they're opening it up, and it's going to be a bloodbath. I'm telling you right
There's
now.
lots of meat packers up there.
Here's the
The
thing.
weather gets good, forget it.
And straight people as well.
That's fudge packers.
Not everybody is going to open up, and not everybody is going to go out. There are people that are going to make decisions on their own. I mean, this fear that as soon as that ruling came down, that everybody was going to throw their doors open and go out on the street like a Super Bowl celebration is bullshit. It didn't happen. And restaurants are going to be very judicious how they open. I mean, there's enough shit that's happened here that
What's the
People are gonna be-
what's the weather like where you are right now?
It's about today it was about 50.
Yeah, wait till it gets to be 60 or 70.
I-
And you're going to see people out there hugging and kissing each other and blowing air in their mouths.
Alex, here's the thing. That would be happening even with the stay-in-place order, because, especially in this state and states where it's bullshit throughout the winter, as soon as we were going to hit nice weather, it wouldn't matter if the fucking National Guard was
Okay.
out there.
My question is this, Patrick. Nanny state, laws are bullshit, all of that. Are you going out?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's nice knowing you.
Hey, Alex.
It was.
Because you do have some compromising situations.
No, nothing other than the physical aspect of being paralyzed. There's nothing wrong with
Isn't there something with like having to use a catheter and things like that that compromises your immune system?
Infection.
Remember, Alex, I've gone over this with you guys on the show. These hands touch everything.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. I mean, I catheterized before this pandemic in the men's room after wheeling in. And yes, I do have a hand wipe, but you might miss the spot.
Can I ask you a question? You're in your wheelchair, right? And you go into a bathroom, and now the floor in the bathroom is sopping wet.
Exactly.
I mean, do you still wheel in there?
He walks.
He walks. It brings it back. It's a miracle.
Turns on the jetpacks and hovers.
If the stall is wet, I'll just use a urinal then, because the urinal usually have less wet
Okay.
than
Can you
toilet.
get?
That's why, Alan, I'm not as fearful of this as others might be, because I've gone through so much bullshit just in general with these hands wheeling through anything that I don't think the COVID sitting on the floor in the bathroom has a chance against whatever the hell else is laying on the floor in the bathroom.
You got that herd immunity.
I mean,
Okay, let me ask you a question. You said use the urinal. How do you do that? Is it low enough?
No, I use extended catheters. So instead of the 14, it's now 28 inches.
So you got to use a catheter. So you grab and stab.
Yep.
And then you've got the extension cord, so to speak.
Yep.
Now, how do other people in the bathroom react to this whole thing?
They shouldn't be looking at my dick anyway.
Yeah, but your dick is like 5 feet away from the urinal.
No, stop, I'm right up to it.
Oh, I see. Okay, but you have to.
Just ask them if they want a drink.
One of my best friends is a roller in a wheelchair.
A roller?
Roller, we call it. So like all like the South Bay, those comedy shows, and we go to the Giants games. So we always stuff beers in the bag behind his chair. And so whenever security would go and they want to check in that, we always tell them, dude, you don't want to go in there. That's his piss bag. And the guy says, oh, okay, so back off. And he lets us in there. We go in there, we got all our beers, and we're ready to start drinking.
Wow.
And I think at that Frost Amphitheater the one that was at Stanford, we roll up there about 5 minutes before they opened the gate. And at Stanford, the line went hella long. We parked in a handicap, and we rolled right up to the front of the line with him, and like 4 or 5 of us went right in.
Can I say something?
My friend.
Yes. Tony wants to say one thing. Go ahead, Tony.
This is what scares me on Wisconsin. And this is, I understand Patrick's observation with it, but what does it really say, though, that they're making this too political now? I mean, people's lives are at stake, and they're overthrowing the governor's.
No, the governor was allowed by law, by state constitution, he can put in a, what do you call it?
A state force.
for 60 days. After 60 days, he can no longer, without the legislature, extend any sort of medical emergency, anything like that. But he has a 60-day window for, let's say we had an earthquake in this state, which I wouldn't imagine would happen, and there needed to be something done right now. The governor could take care of it immediately, but it's only good for 60 days.
But
And
here's
the reason the issue was the Health and Human Services individual, she extended beyond the 60 days, and she's not allowed to by the Constitution.
But here's the question I would ask everybody there, though, in your state. Did they meet CDC regulations to check all 7 boxes? I mean, they're going against the science and the doctors. It's almost like they're just throwing shit to the wind now.
Well,
Like, nobody wants to follow what the doctors are saying. It's almost like, Alex, you're going for cancer, and you're going to tell the guy at Sloan how to do his job.
Well, you're not willing to, to go along with the science is what the problem is. There are 2 things. You're not willing to go along with the science, and secondly, you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing this for other people. You're staying indoors because you want to protect other people. And I do it partially because I want to protect myself, because there are people out there who don't want to protect me. Like I'm walking down the street the other day, and there's a guy with a mask, but it's down here, right? It isn't on his face, and he coughs. Well, come on, at least put your hand over your face,
It's hard to breathe in those masks. And, I understand some people might take them off, especially if other people
Well, he had
around.
to take it off to smoke.
Oh. Hey, didn't it snow? Where they got detectable snow in Manhattan?
Yeah, we did the other day.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We had
in Connecticut.
Yeah, May.
Well, this is where we've got some weird weather, and I think the weather is saying, well, we don't want it to get warm because we don't want Trump to be right. So.
I don't know. It's just scary that I think Trump started this whole thing, the revolt with these states.
Well, the revolt thing is something else altogether. That is not a legitimate revolt. It is people with a political agenda who are going there. I mean, when you show up to protest stay-at-home orders carrying literally AR-15s, what else? I saw one thing that was so huge that it was like a flamethrower. I don't know. And you go to the state offices protesting with that. Why? What does it have to do with a stay-at-home order?
It's almost like
get yourself a little sign that says, I want to be able to go out, and then go protest. But no, they're showing up and they're yelling in people's faces, and they've got their guns, and they've got their Confederate flags, and they've got their Nazi flags, and there were a couple of guys in Ku Klux Klan outfits, and it has nothing to do with the stay-at-home order.
They got more time to burn the flag.
What it was?
Did you read that Forbes article I sent you, Alex?
What?
Did you read the Forbes article I sent you about all that?
Which one was that?
Day before yesterday, where all that's coming from these groups back in the woods.
Well, it's also coming from Alex Jones, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that too. But these groups have been forming back in the woods, and they're all starting to come out. And I mean,
I understand if you want to protest, okay.
Right.
I understand if you're sick of being stuck indoors. If you can't have your small little brain can't wrap around the fact that staying indoors may save your life and the lives of others. Forget about that. I recognize your desire to get outdoors. I see that. I'm going stir crazy myself. But the protests that are being held have little to do with that situation. It's more a political thing. First, Patrick had his hand up, and then Vernon has his hand up. Yes, Patrick.
Well, the protest in Wisconsin was against what had happened with the extension of the stay. It wasn't for the 60-day stay. It was the extension. And nobody here really had an issue with 60 days. It was the overreach. That wasn't the governor overreaching. It was one of his cabinet people, and that's where the issue came in. So, you know, if they had gone through the normal channels with the legislature, they even said about 30 days ago when there was extended another 30 days, that they were willing to work with the governor to extend and to do, sequential opening in various areas, but because of what happened, they took it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So,
L.A. extended their stay at home until August.
Where,
Another 3 months.
L.A.?
Late July, yeah.
I'm trying to find something, cases in the U.S., United States coronavirus. I would like to find a decent map where I can find out for you how things are going in various states, but I don't know how it's going in Wisconsin. Do you know,
I was
Patrick?
just looking at the data for Wisconsin, and it all shows that their projections are going down.
Oh, okay.
If you look at COVID-19 data, their projections. What's the name of the site here?
But that's just projections. That's not necessarily.
Yeah, COVID. Well, it shows past and projections. It's COVID-19healthdata.org. That's the same one that they all use.
Yeah.
And it shows the past, and then it shows the projections from today on, and it shows the testing. It shows the confirmed infections and estimated infections, and they're all going down for Wisconsin. You can pick the state and go into that.
What is the site again?
COVID-19.healthdata.org.
Oh, okay. Yes, Vernon Nunn.
I just had a little comment. First of all, an update on Kentucky. We're still about a third of the deaths of neighboring Indiana, and I live in Louisville, which is just right across the river from Indiana. They've got over 1,600 deaths, whereas Kentucky is at 334. And we had the protest at Frankfurt also. When our governor would give his little speech in the afternoon, you'd hear all the shouting outside the place where he was doing the announcement, where he was giving people data. That's all he was doing, was giving people data. And I have a question for Patrick. If the governor had approached the Republican-controlled legislature about extending that, and you tell me that they would have gone along with him, I cry bullshit. This was all political.
okay, cry bullshit. You don't live here and you haven't heard.
Well, they're doing the same thing in Michigan. They're doing the same thing in Michigan because there's a Democratic governor in Michigan, and Republicans control the House and the legislature in Michigan, and they're doing the same thing that Wisconsin did. And their Supreme Court is controlled by conservatives as well, just like they are in Wisconsin. So it's all political. It has nothing to do with this is the law, and that's why we're protesting. It has nothing to do with the law. It has to do with conservative versus liberal. Period.
And he wants to win those states, so he's making sure that he strikes up unrest there.
Michigan overreached. They wouldn't even let you buy seeds for your garden. You know, I mean, it was Patrick had his hand up before.
Patrick. Yes.
Vernon's comment just reminds me of when we were going through the Scott Walker years with the recall and all of that stuff, and other people from other states were making assumptions on what was going on within my state or other states. You don't hear me make comments on other state policy because I don't live there. I don't know enough to make the assumption of anything. All I'm going to tell you is living here, knowing what had been said and what's been discussed, that the Republicans would have worked with the governor because they wanted to do it legally. He overreached, so that's what you get.
Mm-hmm. And there's no exceptions.
Well, they sued, and actually the lawsuit was in two parts. It was to rescind what was done, and then the Republicans asked for a 6-day stay where it would have still continued the order so that then they could negotiate with the governor, and the state Supreme Court threw that second aspect out and declared the entire thing unconstitutional, and that all businesses could open up immediately. So that wasn't even what the Republicans were asking for. they were asking for a 6-day window after it would be stayed so that they could negotiate. So the state Supreme Court, they said, nope, all unconstitutional, done. Everybody open up.
Okay, how many people do you think are actually going to open up, though?
If I had to hazard a guess, I'd probably say 60 to 70%.
Okay, get ready for a spike. Get ready for a spike in Wisconsin.
The places that are going to open are not going to be in the Milwaukee area or in the big city area. It's going to be more in the rural area where they haven't really seen anything. So I don't know. I mean, if there's a spike, then we'll deal with that. But you know, you gotta chance stuff at times, and I think it's open up is warranted. So
Yes,
It's
Phil.
interesting.
Oh, well, Kevin, then Phil. Okay, Kevin.
Well, I was just saying, I saw something on Florida too, and how we thought Florida was such a mess down there, and the beaches were all, they were pissing on each other and all that stuff down there. And I saw today that the Floridians actually had self-quarantined themselves before all hell broke loose down there, and they actually didn't have it as bad as they did because the people were actually kind of smart and locked themselves away, and all we saw was a lot of the nutcases out on the beach. And the media was kind of overdoing it, doing it that way, and they didn't have it as bad as they thought they did. And looking back, 2020 hindsight, they're saying that they actually did pretty good because a lot of the people, probably older people, just locked themselves up and hung out, and we're watching New York saying, "Oh shit!"
Well,
lock the door.
You're probably right about that. In that Florida has an older population,
right?
And they are most at risk in this whole thing. And they probably
they didn't hang outside and watch all this crap going on. They waited for all them people to get scooped off the beach and go home.
Yeah,
and so people aren't stupid. And in Wisconsin's case, I'm sure there's not a lot of stupid people there, and they'll probably just, some of them will just stay
I
at home.
like
if they
way
don't have
the
to. I
look
think that's
Patrick.
what's going to happen in a lot of places that open up.
I like the look Patrick just gave you because he indicated what I was about to say. There are stupid people everywhere.
Exactly. I mean, I think if you're not going to go out, you're not going to go out. I mean, they're going to try and open up here, and I'm going to let them all. I'm going to watch it from here.
Phil, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I thought the idea behind the shelter in place was to flatten the curve, and they wanted to flatten the curve so that they didn't overwhelm the healthcare system.
That's right.
But they keep moving the goalpost. Now it's like, well, when there's no more deaths and the things go down for 3 weeks, and then it's going to be, well, when we get a vaccine, and then it's going to be when Brian comes up with a test that works in 1 minute. And,
right, Phil. It's because I think it's because you have that fear of what went on in Wuhan. The big 3, 2, 1 on the building. Everybody cuts loose. Let's get outside, and everybody opens the door, and we rush out there, and everybody goes to the bars, and everybody's partying. I think that's what they were afraid of. And if we do it that way, sure and shit, we're going to overwhelm the hospitals again, I'm sure. So they don't want to do it that way.
I think that's the way it's going to get done. After all,
I think our governor here has the best idea, and that is that you think of it as a valve, okay, and you open it up a little bit, and you see. Then you look at the science, and you see what the metrics are, and if suddenly there is a bigger rush at the hospitals, you turn it down.
And that's what I think you mean by moving the goalpost all the time. That's what they are. They are moving the goalpost, but they're doing it, they're opening cautiously.
Yeah, and I love living in a state. I feel safer living in a state where I have a governor who is playing it safe. You know.
And we have the most deaths too, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have the most fear.
Well, to begin with,
In
we have
reality, that's your freedom. You can go if you want. You don't have to.
We have the most deaths here, not because our governor did anything wrong, not because we did anything wrong, although he will tell you that he felt he did a lot wrong, but because we have two of the biggest airports in the United States. More traffic flows through JFK than any other airport in the United States. And it all comes from Europe, where all these countries were having those problems. And they came to New York City. And maybe they didn't stay here. Maybe they went to Milwaukee. Maybe they went to California. But they certainly, a lot of them stayed here. And that's why we got the brunt of it. That's why we were the canary in the coal mine. Now, because we took aggressive action, and because I've stayed in here for 2 months, I haven't left the apartment except on a couple of brief occasions, we've managed to stem that mountain and bring it down the other side so that we're now level with where we were about 2 months ago. And I think that that's a hell of an accomplishment, and should say to the rest of the country, that's what you do. You pay attention to the data. You pay attention to the science, and you listen to the scientists. Because,
I don't.
yes,
I don't.
yes, Brian.
And to Phil, I don't think that they're moving the goalposts. It's like if you have a carpet business and you're losing money, and that curve is going down, and you want that curve to flatten, right? You want to stop losing all that money, but then, sure enough, you want that curve to continue to go up, so you start profiting, right? So I think they're just saying, well, flattening the curve isn't really the goal. We need to bring this down to down to zero, basically. But,
Well, it was the goal, and the reason that they did the shelter in place was
flattening the curve was not the goal, Phil.
It was
No,
to not
let me finish.
overwhelm.
Let me finish. The flattening the curve was not the goal, because the curve, once it gets to the top, can flatten, but it can flatten at a high point. You wanted it to come back down so that it didn't overwhelm the system. If it just flattened out and became a mesa, then you've got a lot of trouble.
Well, it either was going to become a mesa or it was going to go down, but they didn't want it to continue to go up to the point where it was uncontrolled and they would overwhelm the healthcare system. So
That's
the
what happened to
system is not overwhelmed, and the deaths and cases are going down. So it's time to open up the economy.
Well, it isn't time to open up the
not
economy
New York.
everywhere. Okay, and
Not everywhere.
and certainly not the way that Donald Trump is encouraging it. And what he's doing is he's asking for a major disaster. Yes, Vernon.
The cases are going down in New Yorkville, but they're not going down in the rest of the country if you subtract New York.
If you
They're
subtract
going
New
up.
York, they're going
And
up.
that's the problem. First of all, I want to apologize to Patrick because he relayed some information I was not aware of, and I made an assumption that I was wrong about.
Which was what?
About the legislature not wanting to work with the governor.
Oh, okay. All right.
Don't worry about it, Vernon. We're all here just discussing stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what the information was.
right.
And
Yeah,
Oh,
Tony, go
you
ahead.
know what I was going to say too? Like when I was listening to Trump today, this is what scares me with him. I was listening to part of his interview. It's almost like he's trying to make all these false prophets. First, he backtracked. He went against Fauci today, saying, "Oh, he's trying to play both sides." He's lying. Like he's trying to discredit this guy. How can anybody even sanely vote for him by doing this?
Fauci is being a scientist.
And he's
Okay.
being honest.
Well, he's giving his best assessment because his reputation as a scientist and as someone who deals in virology or whatever they call it,
Epidemiology.
is at stake here in a way if he doesn't just tell you what he thinks and knows. And Donald Trump says, well, I disagree with him. Well, I'm sorry, Donald, but I don't consider you an authority on the subject. You're an authority on opening up a casino and touching women's pussies. Okay?
Exactly. I mean, Alex, here's a question I don't like about this is what's alarming me about Trump is that And even after that, then he's trying to say, oh, well, next year the economy's going to shoot off like a rocket. And then he's just lying based
Well,
on
it's
what
going
information.
to because he isn't going to be president. But that's
Yeah,
another
that's
story
true. I mean,
altogether.
We got a 20% unemployment. Even Phil, you think people are going to call you up for carpet anytime soon and spend thousands of dollars when people are, they don't want you in the house thinking you may have the COVID.
You know what?
Come on.
I am busier now than
Oh,
I've been.
no way.
My
Are you serious?
7% year to date, and I am so busy. I'm working Saturdays now, where I usually take Saturdays off, and I'm booked back to back. And
Really? I mean, they want you. I'm not making fun of your business. I'm talking about, I wouldn't feel safe, Alex, having anybody in the house right now.
well,
Yeah.
a lot of people do.
Did you hear what Rush Limbaugh? Did you hear what Limbaugh said today about Fauci?
No.
What do
The
you say?
president?
No.
Yeah, he said, if I was the president, I would just praise Fauci left and right. Say he's the best thing, he's the best doctor. But then behind the scenes, I'd be doing everything against him. And the caller said, well, isn't that what he's doing now?
That's
And
what
he
he's
said,
doing.
yes, that's probably what he's doing now.
Well,
Praising him left and right, and then in his face,
you know, what happens here is that we have a president, we have an administration that wants to listen to the answers they want to hear, rather than to listen to the advice of people who are learned, and that includes even Scarfy.
She's scared, yeah.
Yeah, but
She looks at the death chart and gets
no,
excited.
but these are people. These are people who are scientists who you rely on to give you their best opinion. But you don't then say, "Well, I disagree with him." Well, what credentials do you have to disagree with him?
Exactly.
Are
He
you a
has nothing to lean
scientist?
back
Do you know about this science? I mean, I don't even think Trump has really read up on this science. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who read up on the science? When you listen to Cuomo, you know he's literally reading statistics every minute and is able to talk with certain ability about this subject. And he says, you know, I leave it up to the scientists because there's only so much I know. And yet Trump goes, I disagree with Fauci. Well, I'm using what as your metric?
His gut.
Yeah, his
he's
gut.
using the unemployment line and the jobs, and that his only thing he can run on
All
is
he
the
knows,
economy.
is he wants everybody getting back to work so the economy, he hopes, will jump up so he can then get reelected. That's the only thing that's on his mind, not the
about-
fact that there are 84,000 dead human beings in the United States on his watch.
That's sad. I mean, how can you?
They're on
That's
the
sad.
voter roll.
Hmm?
Uh, what Trump wants is not to put us in a depression and not to kill the world's economy. You've got to balance those things. You get to check whether you work or not, Alex.
Phil, he could have avoided this whole thing. He could have minimized the amount of damage that was done to this country if he had taken the reins of this government early on to protect us against this
On
virus.
January 21st, Fauci said there's no problem.
I
with
don't
the-
care what Fauci
No,
said
he
at that
didn't.
time.
That is a lie.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait a minute, Charlie. It's a lie. Tell us.
Fauci never said there's no problem with COVID. He never said those
He
words.
said that Chinese were being transparent and that you just check what Fauci said on January 21st. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Lie.
Yes. Patrick.
Even Phil, even if he did say that, he had the right to change based on information, just like the rest of the medical community. You know, if things are different, even in an operating room in the middle of a surgery, and a doctor sees something, he has to adjust accordingly. So, I mean, even if Fauci did say that, and I seem to remember reading something like what you said, but whether or not he said it, he has the right to adjust his opinion.
And
everyone else.
and Trump doesn't. So Fauci
yes.
said something, and there were 87,000 deaths or cases, whatever you said, Alex, about 87,000. Now Trump made a decision and now you're gaslighting him and saying that his decision was no good and his decision is responsible for all those deaths.
I'm not gaslighting him. Do you know what
Trump was saying at the
gaslighting
beginning
is?
of February
Do you even
this
know what
was all a
gaslighting is?
Democratic hoax.
You're singling him out.
No. That's not gaslighting at
Fauci
all.
never said
It was
a
taken
hoax.
from a movie called Gaslight, in which a husband tries to convince his wife that she's going crazy.
Yeah. Well,
But it has nothing to do with gaslighting, Phil.
this is the situation. You're blaming Trump for something that early on.
Okay.
Information.
Hold on a second. I've got it here, Phil. From PolitiFact. Dr. Anthony Fauci told us there's nothing to worry about. That's his quote. There's nothing to worry about. The truth is, Steve Bannon has been defending President Donald Trump against criticism that he was slow. Bannon lauded Trump. Fauci told us there was nothing to worry about. That's his quote. Bannon said during an April interview. We fact-checked Bannon's claim in Richmond, Virginia, native. Each time, however, Fauci added that the situation could change.
Well,
I mean, nothing stays the same.
nothing to worry about.
No, he appeared on the conservative Newsmax TV and said, bottom line, we don't have anything to worry about this one, right? Asked Greg Kelly, the host. Fauci answered, obviously, you need to take it seriously and do the kinds of things Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and Department of Homeland Security is doing, but this is not a major threat to the people of the United States, and this is not something the citizens of the United States right now should be worried about. Yes,
so
that's
that's the same
Vernon.
information that Trump had, but you're crucifying Trump and you're lauding.
Trump had different information in February. You're talking January.
Yeah,
By February,
yeah. By then, Fauci was singing a different tune. Quickly, Vernon.
How many times did Fauci say it was a hoax, Phil?
Probably the time he talked to you.
No,
Right?
give us an answer.
Never.
Give him an answer, Phil. How many times did Fauci call it a hoax?
He never called it a hoax brought about by the Democrats.
And how long? How many times, Vernon, did Trump say that?
Dozens.
All right. So I'm glad.
Remember, he said, and now
Yeah,
he gets
yeah.
one, it's going to just float away.
You know, when Trump was running for president, also, Phil, according to Trump, by the third year we should be at 6% GDP growth. We never got to even 4%.
Yeah, well, the Democrats shut down the economy.
Oh, yeah, it's the Democrats' fault.
They brought the virus over.
Democrats didn't get in power until 2019.
Hey,
Right.
Phil, nobody brought the virus here more than Donald Trump did if he had carried it in a valise.
Yeah.
Okay.
You look at Pelosi and
Some of that dirty money he was
Well,
laundering.
listen, Phil, bottom line is he's the president of the United States. He's responsible for protecting us, and he has not done his job.
He doesn't
Okay?
even care about it.
Don't cash.
Forget about it. He hasn't done his job. That's his job one, is to protect the American public, and I don't think anybody will argue with me on that.
I think he has, and he's not only protecting the
Really?
American people.
Then tell that to 84,000 families, okay?
Yeah, that's
Tell that to 84. Think of that number, Phil. 84,000 people are dead on his watch.
And those are 84,000 people that didn't social distance, that didn't wear masks. and
Oh,
didn't-
they didn't? They didn't know about this because they weren't told about it until they finally
were?
came
I
down with
was.
it.
Watching Fox News.
Hey, I could have gotten it just as easily as anybody. I was going to movies and doing things like that. I just didn't get it. I was lucky.
You're probably asymptomatic and spreading it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Listen, I haven't been out of the house in 2 months. I can't be
You don't have enough
asymptomatic
tests to
anymore.
Find out if that's true, Phil.
Anyway,
Right.
that's it.
Right
For,
will be tomorrow.
that's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks.
Germs.
It's been another good one. Good one. Okay. And we end with a high number of people watching, too. Anyway, listen, I got to go. Thank you to Phil. Thank you to Brian. Thank you to Jeff. Thank you to Charlie. Thank you to Vernon. Thank you to Kevin. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you very much. And, of course, Tony. Thank you. Give yourself a big wave of goodbye to everybody, and I will give you a big wave goodbye back. Okay, there they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Citizen Panel. That was fun. Okay? All right, that was fun. Listen, I'm going to turn off the Skype line now, and I'm going to make way for our dear friend, Jack Bishop, who's going to host The Intersection next over most of the same GABNet. We'll be back here again tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, you know what to do. Tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody. Have a nice night and stay safe.